topic. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Mutant Mayhem. Yeah. This came out like 2 months ago. I know we wanted to see it, but life was like, fuck you. You're not going to see anything. But it's out on digital now. We were able to watch it. And Tony, I know we were really excited about this. I didn't know what to expect from it going in.
I didn't either at all.
We saw the trailers and I was like, oh, cool. Looks like it might be a cool art style. But, after seeing Spider-Man, you're just like, can anything really compare to Spider-Man in terms of like animation right now? And so we watched it. And Tony, I'm going to come to you first, man. Your thoughts on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem?
Well, first I'm going to start with the unique thing about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is it's kind of like the Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
It's, it doesn't turn over and start anew as much as Power Rangers, but it's one of those things that like gets rebooted pretty frequently, modernizes itself, maybe introduce different storylines or changes the story or whatever it might be. So going into this, I knew clearly just by looking at the aesthetic and the art style. First of all, the art style, I really like the art style. It was a very unique take on the art style. I don't think it's really anything I can think of that I can compare it to. It's kind of does its
very unique.
Very unique. Including just like how they draw their characters as well too. Not just the style of it, but like how they draw their characters and things in that nature. But what really surprised me with this reboot is how much of a reboot it was to some of the stories. Now, you can go back to all of them and look at them and say, okay, this origin story has been different. This origin story, they're all kind of the same. They kind of hover around each other, but this one definitely deviates from a lot of other things when it comes to other mutants and things in that nature, which, it said Mutant Mayhem, so I didn't know necessarily what that meant, but when you watch it, you definitely get a feel for what that was entailing. And I'll also say I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was charming. It's great for kids. Mm-hmm. I really liked a lot of most of the modernization of it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the character updates. I really like that they leaned into the New York style of it, and every character really, they've always had their own personalities,
sure,
but it kind of got a little bit more existential this time where you're talking like their music and the things they're into. A lot of pop culture references, which is very uncommon with, I feel like, the Turtles. I really actually kind of enjoyed that. I thought that was kind of different as well too. It definitely felt like it was aimed for everybody. I think it was aware enough to where, yes, adults can enjoy it as well too. There were some funny moments in it, some things in that nature as well too. But that all being said, again, the mutant thing was really where they went with that was you were graying a lot of lines on a lot of characters.
Sure.
I don't see this, and I'll be surprised, and if it does, that's fine. I don't see how they're going to move forward from this movie. It feels very
self-contained,
and that's fine. Like, some of the stuff that they changed and modernized, I was okay with. Some of the other things, I was like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for the characters, because one of the big pieces of it, and not to like go into like to ruin the whole movie, but the way they learned ninjutsu and trained was kind of subpar.
Yeah, I didn't really like it was like very shallow.
Yeah, and the whole background with these characters is that that's one of the few things that's kind of, I think important and deep to them, because you can't just pick up fucking toys and weapons like this and just all of a sudden like watch a Van Damme movie and all of a sudden you're doing the splits and doing shadow kicks and shit. That's not how that works. So, and I know it seems like a weird nuance to get into because it is a kid's film, but I feel like it sometimes those little small roots grounded in reality just kind of like at least make it feel a little bit more okay. It makes a little sense, makes a little sense, okay, yeah. I really liked the April O'Neil in this one. I thought that was a great they changed her race. They changed even like the character's size, I think, which is important.
Yep.
Very relatable. I thought that was really smart.
Yep.
But overall, outside of the voice acting, now the voice acting was great. I was able to pick up on some of them. I knew like pretty much everybody who was doing the voices, but some I'd listen, I'm like, oh, that's this. Some of that was great as well too. I just feel like that at the end of the day, the main villain, who was voiced by Ice Cube, was a little sometimes too much.
Was it Superfly?
Yes, it was a little too much at times.
Yeah.
It was a little too extra. Matter of fact, the music that with a that went on for like 20 minutes, and it was at first it was creepy and creeped me out, but after a while I was like,
it was grating after a while.
I'm like, am I getting a fucking headache? What's going on here?
Yeah.
the way they turned, even how he turned into like a different type of villain was okay, but it just felt like it almost got too big for
It was kind of
itself.
sloppy. It was kind of sloppy.
Yeah, and like at first when you were learning about the villain, his reasons, you're like, wow, this is really good. This is some deep reasoning. This is great for this character. But at the end, it just after it kind of went that way, I'm like, it just kind of felt shallow. Like there wasn't really a huge. I mean, there was a lesson to learn and stuff like that. And in the end, like you were characters who are normally like bad characters or whatever, you know, are good now.
Yeah, I thought that was probably the weird. That was the biggest change. I was like, this is really weird.
There were some weird things there. We never even got a hint.
I mean, when you see the amount of people that are like all of a sudden switch sides, I was like, what is going on? Is this a thing?
Yeah, and we never got a hint of some of the bigger characters like in villains, which is okay to some degree because technically, like in some of the comics, like characters like, you know, Shredder and stuff like that are actually not as big as they make them in the cartoons,
right?
Which is interesting. So, at the end of the day, I enjoyed the movie. It's a good movie. It's a pretty awesome reboot. I just feel like that they missed the mark on a few things, and that's gonna make it so for me, like I feel like it's self-contained. If they do a sequel to this, I just don't know how they're gonna move forward from that as well. I go back to this because the 2012 or 2011, whatever. I can't remember what year it was, the Nickelodeon TV series that was before the Michael Bay movies and before the last cartoon series was one of the best reboots of the Turtles, period. It's very entertaining. It's very fun. It's enjoyable. The stories are really good. They're very adult, dialogue heavy, like very surprising. That Nickelodeon series to me is the peak of all Turtles, and outside of comics, it's going to be hard to reach that. I think as a one-off with all the guest characters and voices, this is a great film for that.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. I think this should be. I didn't care enough to move on past that.
Yeah.
Because it didn't feel like it had enough legs for it.
Yeah, it was like I said, like I agree with most of what you said. You know, it's entertaining, it's fun. Jay Hill said something like, "Didn't this have some weird voice acting choices?" It's weird in the sense that the Turtles are a bunch of no-name actors, like kid actors. I mean,
that's really random.
I didn't know who any of these kids were, but then everyone else around the entire movie, every other character was like a big list actor taking on roles. I mean, everyone from like John Cena to Paul Rudd. We had Seth Rogen, Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Maya Rudolph, Ice Cube. I mean, there's a ton of like big stars voicing characters throughout the other, like this. I don't want to say side characters, but the secondary characters to the Turtles. And then he got these 4 kids that I'd never heard of doing the voices. Now they did fine, but it was just kind of like weird that you have like all these big name actors and then just kind of like these newcomers doing it. But they did a decent job. There were a couple scenes where they really leaned into like where they're trying to like show you how immature these turtles are still and. There's a couple of them where it's like the worst podcast scenario ever where you have like 6 people and they're all trying to talk over each other. There are several scenes in this movie where it does that and it's just like, oh my God. I get it. It's
I agree.
so annoying. It's so annoying. Was it better than Mario? No. I don't think it's better.
Honestly, this is going to sound kind of maybe weird, but I think they're kind of not comparable. Because that's a fair question to ask. But I feel like I almost don't. I don't know. Like.
I feel like Mario was more leaned more into the comedy. This was more like a coming of age story for the Turtles.
Mario.
So it's different types of themes that they hit on, I guess.
Yeah, as far as story, Mario was super shallow. It wasn't. And it
oh yeah, I mean story. If you want to talk about depth of story,
like,
Turtles has a deeper story than Mario.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like sheer just entertainment from start to finish, where nothing feels overdone, then yeah, I'd say Mario probably has a better handle on that. But like again, I feel like this is more of a niche audience and. You know, I thought the animation style looked really dope. I actually liked the soundtrack, except for the couple of moments where the music kind of like gets repetitive.
Yeah,
and it's just like it is. It's like grating. You're just like, oh my God, seriously, cut back. I get it. It's a dangerous situation here. You sold me on it. But no, I thought it was an entertaining hook. My kids loved it. My wife liked it, and I was like, okay, this was fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like towards the end, it just kind of gets really sloppy, and it's just like, okay, we're kind of like rushing to the finish line. A little incoherent, but overall though, I thought it was a decent flick.
Yeah, and apparently, so they have greenlit a sequel and a TV-based TV series, and and I'll be kind of the old guy in that. I don't know that I care enough about that to really like. Honestly, again, the Nickelodeon series was super super good, and it's hard to and I like it. The Turtles comics are darker and grittier than usually you see.
Yeah.
And I think the Nickelodeon one rode the line really well on that one. This one really rode like the fun, humor, over the top stuff on it. And I like when the Turtles have a little bit more darkness into them, even though I grew up on the 92, 94.
Some of the
era of
action in this
that.
movie was pretty like gritty.
It was.
That's
it
why I
was.
kind of felt like it was kind of leaning more into it. Like I don't want to say mature themes, but a little bit more,
right. But
okay.
I again, like, yeah. So the Turtles were left in a place that you wouldn't, they normally haven't been before. That's a different thing to explore. But to me, like, I look at that, and maybe it's the old guy in me, and that to me, like, I don't care about that necessarily. And I get it; they're teenagers, so it is kind of a different way to put them.
Mm-hmm.
But that also kind of like also takes away from like how they go about their day and day. That's always been kind of part of their like DNA, and you're kind of taking that away from them as well too. So because like they're like learning and things like that has always been like through TV or magazines or media, because they use their phones and different things now too. So like actually kind of walking into a place like that, to me seems like it almost does them a little bit of a disservice. I could be wrong, and maybe the movie comes out and maybe it's good, but it felt too self-contained for me to really care. I will say though that Crash brought it up about how the characters kind of like grew into themselves, and I think that kind of goes with their personality and stuff. I did enjoy that. I felt like that was a good highlight for him as well too. But again, the Nickelodeon series was just so good, so good.
Yeah, movie cost $70 million to make, and worldwide it took $161 million, which I feel like is a little short for a big animated movie. I feel like I was sitting there thinking to myself when this hit digital, I was like, man, this movie kind of came and went real fast in the theaters, and obviously it wasn't a juggernaut like something like Spider-Man or even Mario. So I mean, yeah, it's $70 million to draw some pics. There you go, man. But no, I mean it's it's obviously enough to warrant a sequel. Obviously enough to generate some interest in a TV show. And I mean, look, I'm not gonna be mad if there's more Turtles. I'm cool with that.
They're always going to like.
I mean, Turtles are never going anywhere.
Yeah. It's gonna be it's like a Power Rangers thing. Like I said, it's always gonna reboot, and that's fine. That's great. That's how that kind of rolls, and you just gotta kind of understand that. But they were, regardless, I think, of how this movie's going to do, you knew it was going to do all right.
Mm-hmm.
They were probably already figuring for a sequel in a TV series anyways, because it's a franchise that sells toys that kids are always going to be, they did the cartoon version of the characters from the Michael Bay films, and I tried to watch some of that, and it was fucking shit, because as he says, the last live action fucking Turtles movies, the Michael Bay produced ones, weren't that great. Like, the second one was a little better, sure, but like, they just weren't great fucking movies. And like, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 88 or 89, you go back and watch it, it's a dark fucking movie.
It is.
And it's actually still watchable. Yeah, it's dated some, sure, but like, compared to other movies from that era, it's actually a pretty decent fucking movie, and has not really like lost any luster, in my opinion. Even the second one, to some degree, even though it's a little bit more jokey and hoppy.
Way more.
We don't talk about the third one, but yeah.
What was that one called? The third one,
Turtles in Time.
Was that Turtles in Time?
It's funny, they made a nod to that song in this movie too, the Go Ninja Rap.
Yes, they did when they're at the chop shop or whatever it is. They go through the car, and I heard it.
And they gave their nod to Kevin Eastman. They said Eastman Lane or Eastman something, I heard too. So, but yeah. So again.
Yeah, I mean, not terrible. And actually, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was, like I said, it was charming. I liked it.
Yeah, and like I think a couple of guys that said in the chat, I feel like Turtles are just something that can constantly evolve and be modernized and made relevant due to the nature of the characters themselves. I mean, they're all relatable. They're all fun to watch and stuff like that.
Everybody's got a favorite. Who's your favorite turtle?
Mine is Donatello.
That would be yours. I figured you would say that.
I was always a fan of Donatello,
that makes
man.
Complete sense.
Nobody likes Donnie, but I love Donnie.
Yep,
Donnie was awesome.
That makes sense. I grew up being a Leo guy because he was the leader, because of the katanas. And then, like, I feel like mid part of my life, I identified more with Michelangelo, and this is what I think is unique about him. But nowadays, like, I feel like I'm probably Raph, and that's what everybody says. You're more Raph with your hot-headed temper. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
Thanks, Crash. I appreciate that, bro. Which one did Corey Feldman voice? Was he Michelangelo or Raph? He did a voice for one of the Turtles in the '88 movie.
Was it Corey Feldman?
Corey Feldman did one of them, yeah. I'm gonna go look it up real quick.
I thought it was somebody else, a child actor like that. Maybe it was Mikey. Oh yeah, it might have been Mikey. Yeah, I think he was. I think you're right. Was he done? Was he Donatello? Maybe he was on. I don't fucking know. I'm gonna keep agreeing with everybody, but if anybody's never seen the
Feldman was Donatello. Feldman was Donatello. Yep.
The TMNT movie the CGI movie. I don't know if anybody saw that. It was kind of like a sequel to the overall series in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a self-contained movie. That TMNT movie is fucking awesome. And it's also easy 1,000-point achievement for Gamerscore on your 360. But I digress.
Is it now?
It is. But that TMNT movie is really good because Leo and Raph, who have always been like at each other's throats, it actually goes down in that movie, and it's fucking dope as shit.
Oh wow, I did not know this. The guy, do you know who the guy that played Shredder, who he voiced?
And
no, I mean the guy who played Shredder, he went on to do the voice for Elmo.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fucking interesting.
He did the Elmo voice, Kevin's something, whatever
That's
his name
cool.
is.
Okay, weird.
I thought that was really. I just saw that dude. I was like, wow, he played
that's-
fucking Shredder.
Okay.
Okay, went on to do the voice of
There's
Elmo. I
that,
guess he
there's
had a
that,
successful
so.
career.